Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am referee Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am going to be taking another look at Hyperborea, 3rd edition. This is, of course, the astonishing swordsmen and sorcerers of Hyperborea. Continuation, it's a new edition of that award winning tabletop RPG. And the 3rd edition really does bring so many improvements and just such a great way of presenting the new materials and these two, very vibrant, orange bound hardbacks and just the way the layout of everything is just really extraordinary. What a phenomenal job that has been done with this particular edition, and as I already stated, it's an award-winning tabletop RPG. That quality you would expect, and the writing from Jeffrey Talanian and I'm sure other contributors as well along the way, you really do start to see the why this is such a much beloved system out there. And when I say beloved, I am including the fact that when I go to conventions, I see this game being run at conventions, and that to me has become a real indicator of whether or not a tabletop RPG is simply something that sits on someone's shelf or actually sees gameplay in the wild. And this is certainly a game system that you will find being run at conventions. Again, another indicator at how successful this has been, and and noteworthy, because not very many OSR game systems out there or third party game systems out there actually get that kind of exposure and gameplay at multiple conventions. So really important as well. So let's talk a little bit about Chapter 6 and equipment. And I say a rare look because I very rarely look or cover the equipment chapter of most of the dozens upon dozens of tabletop RPGs I've covered on my channel. So when I started picking through the chapter 6, the equipment chapter, I was like, wow, I'm actually going to do a video on this because it just grabbed at me. I was like, wow, this is something that I want to actually show and talk about. And again, very rare for the equipment chapter to grab a hold of my interest like that, and I'm hoping equally so yours as well. So without further ado, let's start taking a look at the equipment section. So I'm going to go to big screen here first and just show you. So here is I'm using going through the player's manual. And here is the chapter, and I want you to see the full layout of this, and I'm going to show you precisely what grabbed me, and that is these pages here where every single weapon has an illustration, and you get a real good sense, and not only is it just an illustration, but they're really well done. I mean, I just love the art style of them, and it's not, they have various highlights on it and textures drawn into them as well. I mean, it's just phenomenal artwork for something as simple as weapons and just depicting various weapons in there. So the interior art in this is exceptional, and it really is what made me decide I'm going to spend the time on this chapter. So let's go to the actual PDF. Now, of course, I am going to expand on this, and that way you can see it as I go through it. I'm just going to hit on each of the targets. I'm not going to read word for word anything, in great detail. So it starts off with equipment, and it talks about this chapter describes money and lists of armor, weapons, and gear available for purchase. Very, very simple, right? Using your initial character, 30 to 180 gold pieces, 3d6 times 10, you may equip your character, or you may opt to use the starting pack included with each character class, which I will go into in further detail later on, not in this video. So money, you have the 5 major coin pieces, you have platinum pieces, gold pieces, electrum, silver pieces, and copper pieces. The coin weights, most minted coins are between 2 and 3 pennyweight size, so a single coin weighs about 1/100th of a pound. Very much different than old school D&D, where I think uniformly most of us used, and I don't recall if it's actually written, that everything was 1 ounce, and so you got basically 16 coins to a pound. Here you're getting roughly 100 coins to a pound. When considering coin stowage, 100 coins equals 1 pound of weight. Note that heavy coins may have multiple multiplied values. For example, a treble weight gold piece would have 3 gold piece value, and so on. The exchange rates are a little bit different than in old school D&D. So looking at this, it is 5 gold pieces to a platinum piece. That's uniform. It is 10 electrum pieces to a platinum piece. It is 50 silver to a platinum piece, not 100. And it is 250 copper to a platinum piece, and not 10 times that amount, or 1,000. So it, some of the rates, and I'll look at the gold coins more specifically. So gold to platinum is fairly standard. It was always 2 electrum pieces to 1 gold piece, 10 silver pieces to 1 gold piece. But here it is 50 copper pieces, not 100, to a gold piece. And that's where the difference comes in. So I personally, I stopped using electrum pieces, and I'm kind of surprised that for Hyperborea, it being set kind of in the Robert E. Howard, time frame of the Hyborian age and such. This actually predates that a little bit as well. I would think that steel would be a good tie-in to the lore of the setting, more so. But anyway, that's just a thing of mine that I'm looking at, and thinking about as I'm reading this for the first time. So armor and shields, basically pretty standard. I like the fact that they tell you how long it takes right from the get-go, how long it takes to actually put on various types of armor. So light armor is 1 to 3 minutes, or 6 to 18 rounds. Medium armor is 1 to 6 minutes, or 6 to 36 rounds. And heavy armor takes a full 10 minutes or 1 turn to put that on. Here we have 2 stats that I want to point out here. So here you have the AC going from no armor worn, you have an AC of 9, to full plate mail, an AC of 1. All right, so armor class here is descending armor class. So very old school descending armor class. The addition here is that the armor doesn't only give you protection from actually being hit. And I'm not going to go into the whole discussion of, does that mean that the hit actually misses you or whatever? There's many nuances in that, and it can be pretty much that the you still get hit by it, but it doesn't penetrate the armor. That's the way that I like to think about armor class, right? But on top of that, they do have a damage resistance quantity here as well. So once you get to scale mail and more sturdier, you start getting a damage reduction on top of the armor class as well. And so, if you're wearing splint mail, let's say you have an AC of 4, but also a damage resistance of 1. So that means every attack hitting you is going to do 1 less hit point as well in damage. So that's nice. The damage reduction, the number subtracted from damage rolls. This adjustment may reduce sustained damage to 0. Damage reduction applies to melee and missile attacks, but not traps, falling, damage, poison, or, flaming oil, or most spells. All right. The weight class is the armor's mass and bulk. All right. So basically, just how much it weighs, in wearing it, and then the impact on movement. All right. So your movement, wearing nothing is a 40 through most of the light armors up to studded, it's still 40. It then drops down to 30 for all of your midweight armors from scale mail through splint mail, and then from plate, field plate, and full plate, your maximum movement is a 20. Okay. The number of feet per round, 10 seconds. A character can move when wearing the respective armor type. This rate is doubled when running, so you can still run at double your speed, but I'm sure that you will tire out after quite some time. Shields give you a modifier. All right, so small shields just give you a simple +1, and large shields give you a simple +2. So fairly simple thing. I was looking to see if they are directed at a number of attacks. So small, and in AD&D, a small shield will give you that bonus to AC against 1 attack per round, and medium armor tended to be 2 attacks per round, and large shields tended to give 3. That doesn't seem to be the case here. It just gives you a defense modifier for the 2 types, small and large. Melee weapons, so weapon class, and once we start getting to the melee weapons, we'll go into detail with it. So here is your small shield and large shield. Sorry about that. Melee weapons, the type and basic name. Weapon class accounts for the relative length and function of the melee weapon. The largest weapon classes 5 and 6 oft proved unwieldy in tight quarters. Combatants must be within reach to be able to attack. So a WC 0 to 3 is within 5 feet. It's usually like your dagger or knife. 4 to 5 feet within 10 feet, which means that you probably have to take a step towards the individual, and this doesn't discount some movement involved in the combat round. And then the WC or weapon class within 15 to 20 feet. Again, this accounts for some movement involved, but you're most likely wielding a spear or a halberd in this case. Usual cost in gold pieces. The range, standard ranges for missile weapons launched and hurled are short, medium, and long. Very simple. If it's within short range, no penalties. Medium range, -2 to hit. Long range, -5 to hit. Hurled rate of fire. Some melee weapons can be effectively hurled. This value represents the rate of fire for such weapons. Note that the weapon mastery, fighters and fighter subclasses only, can improve the rate of fire for hurled weapons. Damage is listed in two ways. So its primary is listed first, and then within the parentheses is if you are gripping that weapon with two hands. All right. So you may see some with a different category next to it, such as the battle axe here that you can see. The battle axe is either a D8 if you're wielding it one-handed or a D10 if you're handling it two-handed. These little indicators, these little icons next to the weapons do have a role, and I really was impressed by some of these, right? Because it it starts to show you that weapons have in some cases very specific advantages against certain types of armor, um, and it's good to see that there is that differentiation being reflected here. So this little looks like the enter key on a keyboard ignores AC bonuses provided by an opponent's shield, if any, right? So these things here with that little is the horseman's flail, um, however, not the hammer. The footman's flail has both that plus the plus sign. A true two-handed melee weapon must be wielded with both hands. So that's the footman's flail. The plus sign is, as I said, two-handed weapon. The hashtag weapon has a 4 in 6 chance to dismount a rider on a natural 19 or 20. All right, so many of these just have a different feature attached to them, or a different consequence of being hit by them as well. The Morning Star is a +1 to hit opponents wearing plate armor, plate mail, field plate, or full plate. All right, so the Morning Star and the Horseman's Pick are specifically geared towards being effective against individuals wearing plate armor. So I really, this kind of again jumped out to me, and I was like, wow, that's really pretty interesting stuff. Let's see, a Tonfa, I just saw a Tonfa has this hand trident, also has this as well. So this is a +1 AC bonus versus melee attacks. Quarterstaff must be wielded with two hands. Tonfa and hand trident must be dual wielded, one in each hand, in order to get that. A hand trident is a sai, and you'll see that later on. Just in case you're not sure what a hand trident is. This little triangle, a great spear, does double damage. Dice apply modifiers after when used from a charging mount. I'm pretty sure a lance does the same thing, yes. And then there is the O. Base damage improves to D10 when mounted on a heavy warhorse. All right, so damage is increased. So instead of a lance being D8, it will go up to D10 if mounted on a warhorse. So here we get to the descriptions, and you can start to see some of these, some of these images. So I'm going to actually expand this even larger so you can start to see. This is a war club. This here would be the next of the clubs, but you can see the details that they actually put in the drawings here. So it wasn't just a club with spikes in it, but there's texture to the handle wrap, even the cord, the lanyard onto it. So let's see. These are clubs: a war club, heavier club. The light club is this one here, in the center here. And then just some other types, that you see various versions of war clubs and light clubs. You can see here, this one over here looks like it's just a couple of boards strapped together and bound, and then there's the haft to it. So it's, pretty cool stuff. This is a chain I do have to back out so you can see. Oh, wait, went too far out, too far in. That's a chain whip. So 6 to 8 foot whip made from metal bars, linked by short lengths of chain. One end has a handle and the opposite has a heavy dart attached, which you can see here. So really cool stuff. These look like gauntlets with studs into them. So almost like brass knuckles kind of item. Then you have your various axes, and again, you can see all of the different textures that are put into them. This right down here is a kraken axe. Um, so this here is a kraken axe, and then you have your two different battle axes, both double-headed and single-headed. Um, you have great axes. Again, variations of great axes. And then this here is, it's hard to read what that actually says. It might just actually say hand axe, um, which quite nice looking one. Then here we go into our daggers, and you have the various types of daggers, whether they be curved blade or, this zigzag blade thing, very, very pointed, sharp, almost like a poignard. That would be called a poignard, I believe. Halberd heads, and here are your different types of flails. So here's the footman's flail, very long and with the sharp spikes on it. And then a footman's flail here, also same thing, um, just much more blunt and much more refined, finished as well. And here we have hammers. So so you can see, I mean, there's an image for virtually everything here, and it's really this is a Cimmerian carved lance, so that looks really cool. Um, and then your standard lances here and here. Um, Various pikes, war pikes, and such, scimitars, spears, different types of spears, a tribal spear versus a winged spear. I'm surprised no boar spear. Um, Spiked staff, your various types of swords. Then here's the tonfa. All right, so hardwood clubs. There are the sai, which they call hand tridents, whips, tridents. Then we get into the missile weapons, and again, the missile weapons are going to have the very similar stats, right? Rate of fire, their ranges, their damage. They also have these little annotations, right? Ignores AC bonus provided by opponent's shield for certain of them, so it really doesn't change them. Strength damage applies to the double pointed arrows. So for bolos, boomerangs, darts, hooked throwing knives, and stones, and slings. And then strength damage adjusted applies only if drawn weight is adjusted for the archer. All right, so that you're going to see with composite and longbows. In other words, so um, if the strength is adjusted for the character, then they will be able to apply their strength bonus. You usually see that in composite bows. Um, I don't know why it's not here for the composite short bow. It's only for the long bow, but that is what it is. So Why is a composite short bow? You're getting um, just additional range for it. So no strength bonus attached to it, at least from what I can tell. And then we go into some other things like blowguns and bolos. So now you have all of the images for those as well. Uh, Ammunition tracking. So there's a little note here. It is incumbent on the player to keep track of ammunition. Referee discretion is advised, but a decent rule of thumb for ammunition recovery is a 3 in 6 chance for all missiles that miss their mark. However, sling bullet shots outdoors are impossible to locate. 2 missiles that strike their mark might be subject to breakage um, per referee discretion, right? So yeah, so you can recover your ammo, generally speaking, in a 3 in 6 chance. I would say, as a general rule, like if they say if it hits, um, I would say if it hits with any substantial amount of damage, that you wouldn't be able to recover it. And when I say substantial, I would say if you did 4, 5, or 6 points of damage with an arrow, let's say, then it won't be recoverable. But if it only did 1 or 2 or possibly 3, you might be able to recover it. I make it a little bit harder to recover that in those cases. So here we get into general, excuse me, general equipment. Um, so arrow quivers, backpacks, bandages, belladonna, dried bunch, blanket, winter blanket, tackle and block, a bolt case for crossbows, a blank book, and continuing on. So you have a number of different equipment choices here, um, from fish hooks and light iron chains and chisels and mirrors and so on and so forth. So a large selection of various general items or equipment, scabbard. Um, it's oftentimes like swords are generally sold with a scabbard including, but I could see circumstances where you have to replace a scabbard. So that's something that you can further nuance your player character's experiences is by having them every once in a while having to replace fairly common goods. Clothing tables, and so they have a wide variety of different types of clothes, including different circumstances, right? So you have clothing for disguise, you have normal clothing, religious clothing, special clothing, and so on and so forth. Here we get into provisions, and these are basic provisions for travel for the most part, and then we get into a variety of religious equipment that comes into play here, and then livestock, including tack and harnesses, and you go through here. So whether if they want to have a bull or a dog, a war dog, you know, and their cost obviously. That's not their cost of upkeep. That's just their cost to purchase. Then we have the barding and tackle or tack and harness. Transportation. So this is the cost of purchasing the vehicles, if you wish. These are your overland vehicles. These are your water and sea vessels and how much they cost. And then the last but not least, we go into services. So here are the various services for, basic thing for, eating in a tavern, And so you can very easily use this and use a system of, the difference between a common meal and a fine meal and such. Includes wines, includes beer or wine. Um, just a bowl of soup if that's all they're looking for. Room and board based on, again, quality or class, social class. And then you go into different, city modes. So to rent something for a month might only cost one gold piece for a month. Renting a city middle class in a month would cost 15 a month. So really not that expensive for adventurers at all. Um, Transportation services. All right, so I've never, I haven't seen this, or at least never really delved into it. Let me put it that way. This might be in AD&D or something, but I've never actually dealt with this. I usually just go right off the top of my head and say, all right, they're going to charge you 5 silver pieces per person to cross on the barge or something crazy like that. Um, and there we have it. So as you can see, there's a lot in this, a lot in this chapter, a lot of great artwork, some interesting little rules here and there that are just tweaking the effectiveness and the uses for various types of whether it be armor or weapons, and weapons versus certain types of armor and such. So like I said, I normally don't cover an equipment chapter, but this particular one just struck me as like I want to put it out there and have you take a look at it as well. And certainly one that jumped out to me and said, this is some interesting stuff. And again, it might not be unique to Hyperborea, but just between the art and the nuances within the system itself, it just made me think, I should cover this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed going through this with you. And as always, please remember to like and subscribe and to share. And looking forward to seeing you at a gaming on the gaming screen or sometime at a convention. I do have a convention coming up very shortly in April. It's not that far away, and I'm already prepping and getting everything ready for that experience. I'm waiting for the and this is for Rising Phoenix game convention, and I'm waiting for the time slots to actually open up so I can sign up for. I know there's at least one Hyperborea game being run there, and it's in my Friday night time slot that I have wide open. And so I'm definitely looking to jump in on that game and actually play Hyperborea for the first time. And it's certainly something that I am going to prepare for and run in September. So I will be running Hyperborea in September, and I will be running Rats in the Walls. All right, so I just picked this up, and I'm going to do a separate video just going through this this adventure module and show you all the things that came with this. So be on the lookout for that within the next day or so. And as always, thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your day.